Just months on from the tragedy, we're joined today by Simone's mum, Sue White, and one of the friends who was with Simone in Laos, Bethany Clarke. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really understand how difficult it is for both of you. Bethany, can I start with you? You knew Simone basically all your life. From the age of 4, you met each other at primary school, right?
Yeah, it's been such a long time. Yeah, and it's been a great loss to everyone.
And you were best friends throughout your life?
Yeah, the whole time. So we actually went to different secondary schools, but Simone just kept us in touch, arranged all the plans. Yeah.
She sounds like she was an amazing friend.
She was.
And a wonderful daughter. So tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah, I mean, she was just vibrant, really. She loved life, very extrovert. You know, she worked hard, played hard, great kind of social person. Yeah, it's just a tragic loss, really.
Before the trip, she was in a really good place in her life. What was going on?
Absolutely. So she'd qualified as a lawyer in August 2023. She just bought her own flat last April. You know, had a tremendous social life. Very sporty, very musical. So she literally had everything going for her.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Bethany, you travelled before together, right? You've been to different places.
Yeah.
Where had you been together before?
In 2017, we did a massive trip for 6 weeks. We did China, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Thailand, and then we actually went back to Thailand again, and we also did Bali, Australia, and then loads of places in Europe as well.
So you were very kind of experienced travellers. It wasn't like you were completely naive or anything like that. Tell us about the trip before you went to Laos.
So we met up in Cambodia,
Yeah.
and then we went on to Laos, and then we were planning to do a bit more travelling through Cambodia.
And in terms of that experience, you know, what was... Because I know that she was very busy, as Sue was just describing. She was flying, she was working. I think you'd done most of the organising, and then she turned up, and then you were just going to go off and experience these wonderful cultures and countries.
Yeah, I mean, my job's less intense, so I did a lot of the bookings, and I'd obviously sent her the links, and she looked through all of it. And yeah, it was supposed to be the ideal holiday.
Tell us a little bit about what it was in Laos and what the whole experience is, because it is a well-trodden traveller's route, isn't it?
Yeah. So we went into Vientiane, we stayed there for 1 night, and then went on to Vang Vieng, which is where it happened. So we did the tubing, which is where you go on the rubber ring, and you float down the river.
It's kind of like a pub crawl, isn't it?
Yeah.
On a rubber ring from various spots. But there's loads of you doing it. It's not a small group. There's you know, 50, 60, 70 people all together having a great time.
So many people. So we'd had a really good time doing that. And then we went back to the hostel, which is where everything happened.
And so tell us what happened next.
So at 8 o'clock, or 8:15, we went down to take part in the happy hour.
Yeah.
So I think we had around 5 to 6 drinks, which we were mixing with Sprite.
Right.
So it was shots, either vodka or whiskey. And yeah, we, as I say, we just mixed the drinks, and yeah.
Did you taste any different? Did you smell any different? Was there anything that made you suspicious the minute you kind of started to drink them?
Not really, but I suppose when you think back.
Right, with hindsight.
Yeah, so I put a little bit of Sprite in initially, tasted it, and it tasted not very much. And I suppose if it was proper vodka, I probably would have been a bit taken aback, you know.
This Backpackers, Nana's Backpackers, was notorious for this happy hour, wasn't it? It was well known on the travellers' circuit that for those couple of hours they gave away free shots.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't why I booked it, to be honest, but we just realised when we were there that was available, and
and people had done it for years, and it was something they'd done, so you had no reason to suspect that there would be something wrong with the alcohol that you were being given for free over this period. When did you realise that actually something was wrong? It wasn't just a hangover that perhaps you had the next day.
Yeah, it was the next day. I mean, when we woke up in the morning, I wouldn't say I felt 100%, and I think we all just agreed that we felt on a similar level. We kind of thought it was a bit of a hangover, but we weren't worried.
No.
And then we did the tour that we had planned. So we went to the Blue Lagoon, and then we later did some kayaking. And it was really the kayaking for me that I was like, this is really strange, because both me and Simone were having to lay down. We weren't able to participate.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I suppose then, the kayaking. Yeah.
And then when did it start to take a turn for the worse and you not just feel tired and think, oh, this is just something, that this is just my body responding to a night out? It was more, OK, this is now worrying and now we need to either go and seek some help or find out what's going on.
I suppose that's the thing, I wasn't worried, which is part of methanol poisoning.
Really?
Yeah, we weren't concerned.
No.
Which is why...
And that's a side effect of methanol poisoning, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
So we got onto the bus to Vientiane, which is where we needed to be anyway.
Yeah.
And then our other friend had said Simone's being sick, so I woke up because I'd been asleep. I got off and fainted, got back on, and no one thought much of any of this, really. It seemed like no one really took any interest. And then luckily our friend got us to a public hospital, which is where we were told we had food poisoning, and that's where Simone started to deteriorate. She was in respiratory distress. She was then moved into a separate part of the hospital, and yeah, I think that's really when her brain was started to be affected then.
When did you realise, do you think, Bethany, that it wasn't just food poisoning, it wasn't just a hangover? And when was the first suggestion that it could be methanol poisoning?
So we were in the public hospital for a few hours, and by this time, because Simone had deteriorated so much, our other friends suggested a private hospital, which is when he made, I think, 3 calls in total, and they eventually came. They got us there. I think we checked in at 11:20, and they said, you know, we're going to have to take her straight off to have dialysis.
Crikey.
So they basically diagnosed it in the private hospital straight away.
And they saw it and realised pretty quickly?
Yeah, I mean, our other friend was the one who suggested it to them.
Really?
But they had also had other cases, so they knew.
Had your other friend been drinking the drinks with you the night before?
Yeah, yeah.
And so then when did you get a call, Sue? Because at that moment, Bethany, when they moved hospitals, you must have thought, oh, this is really serious. When did you get the call, Sue?
I think it was on the Thursday morning. So they were in the hospital on the Wednesday evening. Thursday morning, Bethany messaged me and said, don't want to worry you, but all 3 of us are in hospital.
Yeah.
And I think you said acidosis. And, I mean, I was worried. She said Simone was quite poorly when she was admitted, but there's been a slight improvement.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, obviously I was absolutely worried, sick all day long. And I think on the Friday, we then spoke and she said, I think you should fly out here because Simone's been sedated. She's not woken up, which was quite unusual. So, you know, I consequently booked a flight for the Saturday morning. But then on the Friday night, you know, I'd gone to bed and then got a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning from, well, Bethany and the doctor at the hospital just saying you need to give consent for brain surgery or, you know, Simone's not going to make it.
So medically, what had happened to her at that point?
I think she just got a bleed on the brain, hadn't she, caused by the methanol poisoning.
So she was in respiratory failure, which is why she went onto the ventilator.
Right.
And then at this point, they'd suggested doing brain surgery to release the pressure and the swelling on the brain.
And she'd had several seizures, hadn't she, by that
yeah,
that point
they told
as
me
well.
It was 1 initially, but I think it was 4 or 5 in the end, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the brain surgery caused a bleed on the brain.
God, so
And the other side of the
And the
brain
other
too.
side,
Yeah, exactly.
And so when it caused the bleed on the other side of the brain, then what happened next? What did the doctors say to you?
I mean, she came out of the brain surgery, or, you know, that took sort of 4 or 5 hours, and then at the end the doctor said, unfortunately, it wasn't as successful as I hoped. He said, we'll do a CT scan in about an hour's time, and once that had taken place, he kind of said, there's no hope, you know. He said, we can't operate any further. And I think at that stage he had 5% brain power left.
Oh, dear.
And so it was just a question of time, really.
I can't imagine how painful that must
Oh, it was just
have been for you,
absolutely
Sue.
excruciating. It was just dreadful, absolutely dreadful.
And so much will be going through your mind as to what you could have done, what Bethany, I'm sure you were feeling the same way. And yet, at the heart of this is the reality that somebody had put methanol into those drinks.
Exactly.
That poisons not just you, but all these other backpackers as well.
Exactly, exactly.
What did the police say? What have they said about the scenario?
Well, they're looking into it. They've detained 11 people.
From the hostel, employees from the hostel. And as all we know is that the investigation over there is still
Ongoing.
carrying... Yeah, you know, nothing
No one's
moves.
been charged?
No.
But the hostel's been closed down, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
permanently
that's permanently
closed, yeah.
closed.
Right.
But yeah, there's just no update on the police investigation at all. You know, could take months and months, we believe.
It must be heartbreaking, obviously, but to understand, Bethany, that no one has been held responsible for what's happened, not just to your great friend, but these other backpackers that lost their lives as well.
Yeah, we just hope that they will come to a conclusion on it soon.
And someone held responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Sue, wanting to come and talk about it, is it about sharing the experience that you've all been through? Because the traveller's route, kids will finish school, they'll finish university.
Your boys went travelling.
They will go travelling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about arming them with the knowledge that these things are out there.
Absolutely. You know, and as you say, she was such an experienced traveller. It's not like she was naive and, you know, I mean, for it to happen to her, it could literally happen to anybody.
Yes.
You know, so, yeah, we just need to sort of create the awareness, really.
Yes.
You know, and be obviously extremely wary when you go to these countries.
Yeah.
And people don't think it's going to happen to them.
No. So it's always drink things that are sealed, those kind of things.
Ideally beer, probably.
Yeah.
Just safer
Yeah,
to
sealed
stick with that.
bottles.
Sealed bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We've got a right of reply from the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. They say, we are supporting the family of a British woman who has died in Laos and we are in contact with the local authorities.
Yeah, we tried to contact the local authorities, we haven't heard back.
No.
I wonder, Sue, how you remember her and how you will always like to remember your daughter.
Yeah, I mean, we will always remember her as like a happy, vibrant, extrovert person. You know, I mean, she just crammed so much into her 28 years. It was just absolutely unbelievable. So for that, we're very thankful. But, yeah, it's...
You don't want anyone to go through what you've been through.
No, absolutely not. You know, I mean, she'd have been fuming if she knew that her life was going to be cut short. She just had so many plans for the future. Yeah, it's just absolutely tragic. And she would have, you know, in the other respect, she would have wanted us to carry on as well and not be sad for the rest of our lives. You know, she would have hated to think that I mean, obviously we are very, very sad about it, but she would have wanted us to carry on.
Do you think, Bethany, it's going to curtail your sense of adventure and travelling as well?
Yeah, I think I've finished with Southeast Asia now.
Yeah.
I can understand why.
Must have been so frightening to be in a different place and not speak the language, and it must have been so frightening.
Just so paranoid, to be honest. And when Sue came, we were just so glad.
I mean, like you say, it was the language barrier in the hospital.
Frightening,
you know,
frightening at those critical moments.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the doctors didn't really speak very good English, did they? And it was very difficult to communicate. Of
course.
Very difficult.
Of course.
Well, thank you for being so brave and coming on the show today. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.